the 9 members in the band was more like a publicity stunt to try and get attention. What's your response to that? You know, what would you say to your critics about
most of those people are either failed musicians or like have something, some type of chip on the shoulder that either dealt with the band before or something like that. But everyone in the band plays an instrument.
Yeah.
And we have practices, and we never have a problem getting everyone to practice, you know, ever. But I mean, there's been sometimes when people are sick, we cannot do a practice even if one member's missing.
Yeah,
because the thing is, you'll listen to the album and you won't necessarily realize where a lot of those sounds are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come to the show, you realize how it all comes together.
Yeah.
All the heaviness that comes a lot off that album, like a lot of the bottom end, are from the 2 extra percussion. I mean, it's not even really percussion because it's like big. I mean, his drum set is made out of titanium.
Yeah.
It's made out of the space shuttle, you know. So he's like the only titanium drum set in the world. That's where we have an industrial influence in our music, but we don't like to use machines to do it. We like to actually take machinery, but play the actual machinery itself.
Right.
But anyone that says that, man, either hasn't been to a show or, you know, has something else going on, because everyone in the band has an assigned thing to do and is busy constantly during the show.
Right. With 9 members in your band, I know some people are probably wondering this, because, you know, a lot of bands, 4 or 5 members, they have a really hard time keeping peace, and bands break up left and right. Do you ever have a problem keeping things in line or keeping peace between 9 members in the band?
Absolutely not. We get asked that question quite a bit. 3 people or 9 people, it's the exact same to us. I mean, we never even looked at it as being 9 people in a band, like, oh my God, how are we going to keep it together? Because we wouldn't have kept adding people to make this band if we didn't feel they fit into the family that we've already created, or that it would become a problem. We were all playing in bands previous to forming Slipknot.
Okay.
And we had worked, I mean, Iowa is a barren wasteland. There's absolutely, on the music scene, there's nothing there for music at all. I mean, there's no heavy bands, there's no clubs to promote your music, and we were all in bands prior to Slipknot, and we were working our asses off. We'd go out with backpacks full of tapes trying to do things, and we get fines for handing out flyers or putting them up on poles. And we got fed up with it, and I broke up with a band, he broke up with a band, and Paul, the bass player, had broken up, and they had started this project already. And it just was coincident that all of a sudden all our bands broke up, and we had all known each other for so long. We were like, you know what, screw this. This isn't working. Let's put together the most insane, you know, type music. We were talking music, not even with this stuff. This has nothing to do with the visual thing at all.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, we're being, you know, this is the way, you know, things have been going. It hasn't been going all that well, so let's like create the most insane music we can. Let's bring all the people that we know, the best people in Des Moines in, and like create the most massive, insane, ultra-violent biomechanical band we can put together. Well, we got 3 drummers, and then we got Paul, the bass player, 2 guitar players, Nick and Jim, Craig, our sampler, Sid, our DJ, and Corey, our lead singer.
The dreadlocks that are on his mask, are those?
That was his hair.
That was his hair?
That was his hair.
Shaved and sewn?
Yeah, he had that hair. That's his hair that is in his mask. That was his hair. Now, and he got an infection in his head. He had it in, and it was itching, and he couldn't even sleep. And he kept it in for a long time. And he just used to, the mask that he wears had holes in it, and he would pull his hair out.
Really?
So he wanted to keep it because it had become such a part of him, and he felt, you know, that was the part of the mask. So we cut his hair off, and we sewed it into the mask.
Now, could you tell me, like, what's the typical night like in Iowa?
Me sitting on my desk looking at porno magazines and listening to music.
Really?
That's usually what
a lot of porno shops in Iowa?
Our lead singer works at one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't indulge in any drugs or alcohol or any sort of herbal like things. So it's either video games or sex.
Are you guys famous now? Would you consider yourself quote unquote famous?
In Iowa, yes, because it's so small.
Right.
Everywhere else, no.
So what was it like to work with Ross Robinson, and how did you basically hook up with him?
It was like an extreme honor. He's like the king of like just throwing down. You know, we met him we had an old manager, and we'd been talking about Ross for a long time. He's like in permanent memory as far as production goes. And we just talked about him all the time, and our manager one day had a friend in the business, and she was asking him if he happened to know who might manage Ross, and it just so happened, like complete fate, that he managed him. Right. His name's like John Reese, and he manages other bands and stuff, and so, you know, everybody got together, and the tape got sent off, spit it out, and Ross really dug it, so he decided to come to Iowa, which was something he really didn't want to do, but he liked the band so much, so he came to one of our practices, and then he came to a sold-out show the next day, and that was it.
Is there, like, someone asked me, is there a real purpose behind the masks? Because, you know, while you're on stage, they do draw a lot of attention, you know. It's the first thing they see when you step out on stage, the crowd, is the masks. And, you know, I can imagine everyone turning their head like, dude, check that out, you know, check that mask out, that's totally awesome. Is there, like, what was the real motivation behind it?
Yeah, and I mean, the whole mask thing is, it's a real weird thing. We get a lot of questions on it, and sometimes we get slack for just being ourselves. And the thing is, like, if you knew where we were from, and it's not a bad thing. I'm totally proud of where we come from and the things that have happened to us, because it's made us create this thing. It's made us create. I mean, and the thing is, we're about our music, not this at all.
Okay.
We're really not. I mean, the reason we did this is because playing for no one for 10 years, we felt anonymous. And it's like, if we're gonna be treated that way, let's be that way. Let's be anonymous, and this is like the way we actually feel.
Right.
From coming where we're from, this is like the actual personality that we're living out through our head. We're like, let's do that. Let's create the baddest band we can, you know, possibly get, and that's why we created the uniform.
Right.
To make ourselves the army that we are, and that's where we represent. It's like a coalesced thing. It's like a unit, and then we live all our personalities out to the anonymous face, because we're not about our names or our faces. We're not about our names or our faces. We're about our music 100%, and this is the unit, and this is the moniker that we can use, the tool that we can use to throw our music out and get it to as many kids as possible.
We live for that 30 to 60 minutes, just depending on set time, you know. That's what we live for all day, and when the masks are off, you know, that's our business and our life, you know.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable to be able to go out and just do our own thing and live our own life, you know, because unless we're on stage, we don't really care about much else, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
You know, the only thing we care about besides playing is our fans, because we're so grateful to them. Like those two kids standing out there, it's so grateful that we get to come here and see those kids with those shirts on.
Yeah.
Because that makes us feel so good, because they're sitting around with that. I mean, they don't have to buy those shirts. You know, they don't have to be wearing that. They could be wearing some other band. And to us, it's like, it's so nice to see those kids out there, because we're so grateful for them. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Because a lot of bands on this tour, on Ozfest, I'd like to say right now, do not appreciate their fans nearly as much as we do. They are the ones, people need to realize that their fans are the ones that are letting them be in that tour bus and go all over the world and make money and play for all these people. Right. And most of them are only concerned with getting chicks after the shows and getting them back to their tour bus, you know, and I will sit and I will hang out with like every one of those guys and bring them on my bus before anything else, because I'm so grateful for all of them. Thanks.